What's good again, everybody? So, right now we are now going to look at the poison types, and this typing is it's a fantastic typing. I just don't really understand why it's not very good. And it could just be the case that the Pokemon that are all poison type are not good enough. Um, yeah. So categories, I'll just re-go over it. Very usable is like this thing is getting brought to multiple battles, multiple encounters, and will serve a good, solid purpose throughout the entire game. Usable means they're regardless of what their ability is, they can still be used in a few cases. Ability dependent means you're really not likely to use these Pokemon unless they have a good ability, in which case then they can get used for whatever reason. And then unusable is just they're garbage; they can't be used. And then megas will just be doing the megas and the just we'll just be ranking the megas separately from the base forms. So starting with Venusaur, a grass poison type, which is not a great type, but it's also kind of nice in certain instances. Venusaur, we'll put him in usable. It's a good Pokemon, right? It's like slow, or it's not that slow, but it's like slow enough to be called slow. And it's like kind of ish bulky. It has two abilities and like two random abilities, and it gets decent moves, right? It gets sleep powder, it gets sludge, it gets mega. No, it doesn't get mega drain. I don't know what its special grass type move is actually in the early game. I can't remember what special grass type move it gets, but it might not get one. It might just be using a physical grass move and then special poison, but no, I can't remember. Mega Venusaur is just like a better version of Venusaur, but it's still not good enough to be put. Actually, Venusaur will put an ability dependent because you're really not likely to use this unless it has a good ability. Mega Venusaur has an extremely low chance of getting a good ability, but there's some uh, there's some fairy types that this can do really well against for sure. Beedrill we've already done, but we'll do him again. He is in usable because he's fast and he hits hard. And he can U-turn and poison jab. And I guess drill run, but you're probably not going to be clicking a non-stab move on that thing. This thing's job is to get as much damage off as possible as early as it can. Arbok is like cool typing, poison dark, think great typing. Unfortunately, actually, because of its typing, we'll put it in ability dependent. This thing can get used if it has the correct ability to get used. For sure, yeah. I mean, Nidoqueen is like unusable. I hate to say it, but its stats are just too low to get used. I don't know why these things are such a threat in early game hardcore Radical Red, but when you have them, they're garbage. Same with Nidoking. Nidoking is not usable. Vile Plume is just a worse version than Venusaur, so we'll put in unusable. Like, even with a good ability, what matchups are you bringing this to? Like, maybe Erica, and that's it. Maybe Surge. Is there a encounter in Surge that this thing does well into? I mean, no, no, there really isn't. Yeah, and then I guess like Brock, but like Brock, like if you're bringing this thing to for the as an answer to the Cacnea and Brock, like, but that's not worth catching this thing for. It's crazy. Venomoth is also unusable, even less so than all of these. Victory Bell is we'll smack it right next to Vileplume. Its stats just aren't good enough. It's a Gen 1 Pokemon that just didn't get fixed and doesn't have good enough stats to be useful. Tentacruel is very usable. This Pokemon is fantastic. Water Poison is surprisingly a really good typing for resisting like a lot of stuff, and then also resisting Fairy, which it's great. And then also being neutral to Grass. Yeah, no, this is a great typing that solves a lot of like Tapu Fini, for instance. Like if you do not have an answer to Tapu Fini and you need something that can tank whatever it's called, the Misty Explosion, then this thing can do it, and it can also threaten to kill Tapu Fini, forcing a Misty Explosion. So yeah, and it's got more answers than that. Like you're probably not bringing this thing to the double battle before Go2, but it does solve the Primarina. Now Primarina isn't necessarily the like worth like Primarina alone is not worth bringing one of your 3 Pokemon for. You kind of want Primarina as like a side, like something as a side answer to Primarina, not a strict answer. But it's still good enough. It gets used a lot. This thing, Slowbro, Galar Slowbro is like, I don't know what this thing, I've never used this before, but I do know what its stats are. It is a mixed attacker. It has the same physical attack as it does special attack, and then it has slightly less physical defense than base Slowbro. And it's also a poison psychic type, which is not as good as a water psychic type like Slowbro is. It's not as good as Slowbro, and it's like a mixed attacker. Its signature ability is kind of cool, but it doesn't really get used enough to be. And like, sure, it's a slow, it's like kind of a slow Pokemon. So it's like, oh, this thing could get used in like slow formats, right? Not really, because this thing doesn't serve a purpose against Sabrina. It doesn't serve a good enough purpose. Like it can't hit the Magearna for super effective stab damage, so that's like the only possible thing that it could get used against, and it doesn't get used very well against that. Same with the Iron Hands, and same with the Glastrier. Standard Muck, unusable. Yeah, it's not good enough. However, Lowland Muck, simply by adding the Dark type, this thing is, I mean, it's a much better version of Arbok to the point where it has multiple uses. It gets Parting Shot. Weirdly enough, it gets like knockoff. I think it gets. I can't remember if it gets Sucker Punch. It might actually get Sucker Punch. But it's pretty good. It's pretty good, and it is a decent enough Mewtwo answer if it gets that far. And this is the only thing that you have as a Mewtwo answer. As long in that Mewtwo fight, as long as you keep the Spiritomb on the field, and you give this thing either an Assault Vest or a Rost Berry or a Lumberry, then you can get 2 attack. Like you only need 2 attacks to kill the Mewtwo with this thing. You just smack it with like a strong dark type move, not knockoff, like something other than knockoff that's slightly stronger, like Crunch, twice, and the Mewtwo's gone. And the Mewtwo probably won't even target this thing. It might target it with like an Aura Sphere, but honestly, that's good for you, unless Dialga's in which case you'd prefer it to use Expanding Force. Our next Pokemon is, where are we? It is Gengar. Gengar's unusable. It's I don't even know how to talk about this. It's like in its base form, it's not fast enough to do what it's supposed to do, and it's not bulky enough to get swapped in and have a useful purpose against stuff that it has stab damage against. Like maybe a fairy, like maybe some fairy types, but it's way too frail to get used outside of that purpose. Mega Gengar, I guess, will slap in ability dependent just because it has more speed than Gengar. So, like, just because of its ridiculous speed and special attack, it could maybe get used as a lead for certain things and delete certain things. But that's about it. Base Weezing is unusable. We'll put him next to Muck. Not you. Yeah, he's not usable. And then Galar Weezing, Poison Fairy type is cool, but it's still ability dependent. Like the whole purpose of this Pokemon is to use neutralizing gas. And if you don't have neutralizing gas, what does its purpose become? Surprisingly, it is a decent special attacker in it. Like Strange Steam is pretty strong against certain matches. Strange Steam and Sludge Bomb and Flamethrower is pretty decent in certain. It's decent enough. Ariados is garbage. It's garbage. It does learn priority though, so I guess it goes above Venomoth. Or honestly, because it gets a priority, we'll put it above the king and queen. But it's not good. Crobat is usable. Multiple. Oh wait. Ooh. I'm not sure what really separates. Like this thing gets used in a lot of fights, but it can't necessarily get brought to like almost. I mean, you could probably bring this to every fight. What am I saying? It's fast enough to like U-turn out of whatever, and it has like multiple 4 times. It has multiple immunities and 4 times resist to get used as a pivot. Like 4 times resist fighting, 4 times resist grass. This thing is a fantastic pivot, and most of the stuff I would say like 75% of the stuff that you would use this as a pivot to in Radical or just in general in Radical Red, this thing will outspeed. It's not until the late game where like you're like fighting in a swamp or the Pokemon are just too fast for this thing. So, it's good. What's next? This thing. Galar Slow King. It's like suffers from the same thing that like we'll compare it to normal Slow King. So Galar Slow King has less special defense and more special attack. I'm pretty sure, and that makes it worse, in my opinion. Standard Quillfish is, I mean, it's unusable. Like it is a water poison type, sure, and after all that I gave to Tentacruel, but it's not nearly as fast as Tentacruel. It's I guess slightly more physically bulky, but it's far less specially bulky, and it has less damage capability. This is a physical attacker. Tentacruel is a special attacker, but I mean, I guess for that purpose, we'll put it in ability dependent, right? Because it's got a good typing. Water poison is very usable for a lot of reasons. So if you get a good ability on this thing, I guess it can be used, but you're probably never going to catch that anyways. Dustox, unusable. It's not good enough. Roselia, no. Swalot, I don't know what type this is in Radical Red. I don't know if this. I never see that. I think it's just a strict base poison type, so we'll put it next to Muck. It's not usable. I don't think it's a poison dark type, but it might be a poison dark type. The next one is Seviper. Seviper is definitely a poison dark type. And if it has a good ability, it can get used for the same purpose that Arbok could get used, right? I mean, it's just a little less, it's a little more frail than Arbok in exchange for doing like more damage, I guess. I don't know. I've never used that. Scun tank, the same as Arbok and Seviper, but it just has more bulk than both of them, so it will go slightly higher. Roserade. Roserade is actually pretty decent. We'll put it above Venusaur in the sense that, like, on the special side, it is better than Venusaur. Like, it's faster, it does more damage, and it has more special defense in exchange for having less attack and less special attack and less HP, which is, or no, less attack and less defense and less HP, which is fine for the purpose that you're probably likely to use that for. Drapion is straight up usable. This thing is just physically very, very good, and especially not bad. And it's just stronger than all of these. And I'm pretty sure it's faster than all the poison darks here, poison dark types here. So it's just usable, straight up usable. Unfortunately, it doesn't really answer Mewtwo as well as this muck, because this muck is far more specially bulky than Drapion is. But yeah. I mean, it could. It's just you will get burned if you're wearing an assault vest, and then it's just kind of annoying to deal with Mewtwo once you're burned. If you leave the Spiritomb on the field, if you get rid of the Spiritomb, then yeah, that battle causes a lot of problems. Yeah. Ideally, the ideal answer to Mewtwo is a Fire Dark type with a Chople Berry. That answers Mewtwo extremely well, but Poison Dark types are still good enough. Let's see. Krogunk. Yeah, Krogunk's unusable. This thing is not usable. Like cool moves like Mach Punch and that's it, a Sucker Punch, but the stats are so bad that even with an ability, you're not likely to use that. Garbodor. Garbage odor is garbage. This is absolute trash. It like the only utility this thing could have is in the early game, because it's like kind of bulky enough to deal with early game monsters. The problem is that this thing doesn't get access to any physical moves until like way late. So it's unusable. Its special attack is like garbage, and its physical attack is decent, and it learns moves like sludge, poison gas, and like just really good special moves that it does not suit that Pokemon at all. Mega Garbodor, I guess. Yeah, Garbodor does have a Mega. It's a poison steel type? Is it a poison steel type? No, maybe it's just a poison type. And I mean, I guess we'll put it in ability dependent, just because its stats are so good. Its stats are like obscenely good, and yeah, that is pretty much it. Yeah. Scolipede is next. In the bug types, I put Scolipede in unusable, and it is still unusable even for the poison standards because it doesn't really have a role, and it's a terrible type. Poison Bug is a terrible typing unless your name is Mega Beedrill, and that's the end of it. Amoonguss is pretty cool because it gets Spore, but unfortunately, unlike in PvP, where this thing seems to tank like a bunch of stuff in PvP in like VGC formats, this thing does not tank stuff very well in Radical Red, and it's super slow. And it's like, oh, but this could get brought to Sabrina, right? Like you could tank a water spout with this. Yeah, maybe, except you can't click Spore in Sabrina. And I also don't know when this thing learns Spore. I don't know if it's before or after Sabrina. But it's not great. We'll put it in ability dependent though, because its stats are bulky enough to the point where with an ability, with a good ability, it could get used similarly to Venusaur and Roserade. It's just that it doesn't nearly have the special attack that those two have. So it's at the bottom of ability dependent. Dragalge is a really cool Pokemon. It's a slow poison dragon type, which you would think, like, in theory, it's a great typing. But in Radical Red, it's really not a great typing. Because as a dragon type, unless your base stats are just insane, being neutral to fairy doesn't really help. Unless you're like, I don't know, like Hisuian Guja or like Dialga. Like this thing is not doing what Hisuian Guja and Dialga can do. So we will put it in ability dependent because its stats are still decent enough to to like get used if it has an ability that allows it to serve a niche. And also, this thing could theoretically come to Sabrina in the face of the 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 ghost Jellicent. In the face of Jellicent, this thing could definitely tank. But then this thing won't be able to tank a Moonblast after from the Magearna, so I don't know. And you do not want this thing in if she brings out like that battle goes terribly if after you delete the camera up and the Tapu Fini, if she brings out one physical Mon in the back and then one of her like Jellicent or Magearna, that battle goes absolutely horribly. Because you want like two very specially bulky Pokemon to answer Jellicent and Magearna, and then you want two very physically bulky Pokemon to answer Iron Hands and the Glastrier. And I mean, let's be honest, most runs end at Sabrina because you're not thinking about getting slow Pokemon. And there's very few fast Pokemon that can also do really well in Sabrina. Sui and Guja is one of them though. Toxicroak. Yeah, Toxicroak's fantastic. I mean this this thing is a meme, but this thing is fantastic. Like Baneful Bunker, plus just like whittling away at stuff and Baneful Bunkering, and like it's a joke. And it's a poison. It's like the opposite version of Tentacruel in the sense that it serves the same role as Tentacruel serves, but on the physical side. So if I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but if there's anything like like physical water types, and I mean, honestly, you straight up might be able to bring this as an answer to the Palafin hero in Misty 2 in the second round of Misty. This thing could, I think this thing could probably serve as an answer to that. Like you Baneful Bunker, and then you just like protect Whittle, and by then you have or no, well you could have lefties by then. Protect Whittle, whittle it down, and just hope that it doesn't constantly bulk up, which it will probably do. But either way, because poison does like 1/8 of their damage, so it's like 8 turns after that. The problem is timing your Baneful Bunker, because it could end up that Misty just bulks up and never actually attacks you. So you'll miss the Baneful Bunker, and then Misty will be at like +4, and you're not surviving a Jet Punch or a Liquidation at +4. So maybe this can't be an answer to the Palafin hero, but maybe it could. Who knows? Salazzle, fantastic typing, but unfortunately, it's like not usable. It's too frail. Even with a good ability, this thing, the purpose, like the purpose this thing would serve is against like Magirnas, and unfortunately, it like it probably doesn't even survive like a +2 stored power against Erica's Magirna, and then this thing definitely doesn't win against Claire's Magirna. So, and obviously you're not bringing this to Sabrina. So yeah, it yeah, it's not good enough simply because of its stats. Nihilego is like, I mean, it's fast, it's extremely specially bulky, it's extremely physically frail, and it's a rock type. It's not great. Like, realistically, what are you bringing this to? Special threatening monsters that this resists. Their stab is like poison, I guess. Like, so it's like, oh, okay, so like Mega Gengar, Morty's Mega Gengar, but you don't have any super effective damage on it. So it might learn Psychic. I don't know if it learns Psychic or not. You don't have Earth Power at that point, so like I really don't know about this. We'll put it in ability dependent just because it's 580 base stat total, but I don't see a whole lot of uses for that Pokemon in Radical Red. Simply because it's a rock type. The rock sort of lets it down, the rock typing. Now we are at Naganadel. Naganadel is similar to Dragalge. It's just a better Pokemon than Dragalge. It just can't get brought to Sabrina like Dragalge could. But it's probably ability dependent. It's probably like high end of ability dependent behind Mega Gengar, I guess. Yeah. Seems fair. It's pretty fast. It's like 127 special attack and then like 109 speed or 112 speed or something, which isn't that fast, but it's fast enough to be useful through the early and some of the mid game, and then it probably does nothing. Toxtricity is unusable. This thing is unusable. Mega Toxtricity, however, is, I guess, ability dependent. Yeah, I suppose it could be useful with an ability. It's got like 127 speed, or it gets a lot of speed, which is the only reason why Toxtricity can't be used, because it has like 80 something speed or something. Mega Toxtricity has a lot of speed, so it learns like good moves. So, uh, oh, well, this is easy. Yeah, Eternatus is top of the list, 100%. Mega Eternatus is top of the list, 100%. Like, it doesn't matter. This is like a 780 base stat total Pokemon. Yeah, it doesn't matter what its ability is. You're bringing this thing and it's outspeeding like consistently for the rest of the game. Everything that it needs to outspeed. It gets Flamethrower, but like Sludge Bomb, or it doesn't really get a special poison type move for a little while until after Erica, but I mean, with this thing's stats, it doesn't matter if you're using cross poison or Sludge Bomb. It's like if you need a poison move, it'll serve the purpose. But in the early game, you're mostly just clicking like Dynamax Cannon. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's I don't even know what there is to talk about. You can literally bring this to like 80 to 90% of the battles. It's insane. Sneasler is usable. We will go ahead and put it at top of usable because it's fast, it's strong, it gets U-turn, it gets fake out, not until like egg moves though, but it gets like Mach Punch and it gets Dire Claw, which never works in your favor. Dire Claw just never works in your favor. You never get like the sleep. But it is a strong 80 base power poison move, and this thing is fast enough to sort of get around its frailness. It's usable. For sure. Overquill. Overquill for, I guess, the same purpose as like Muck and Drapion. It's borderline ability dependent, but because of its typing, like it could get used for the same purpose as like Drapion. It's just not quite as fast. It's got like 10 less speed or something, 11 less speed. Um, and I don't think it's as strong. I don't remember what its attack power is, what its base physical attack is, but it's not as high as these two. Um, yeah, I don't think. Or it might be similar to Mox, but I mean, it's good, right? It's usable. So that's the end of it. Poison Dark type, immediate usability. Grafai is like unusable. This thing doesn't like it. Like it gets fake out, or does it get fake out? I actually don't know if it gets fake out or not. But its whole gimmick is like it gets like parting shot. It gets like all those like weird supporting moves that it doesn't get access to in hardcore. So what? You're using this as like a weak damage dealer? No, sorry, it's not. Unless you like, yeah, no. Even into ghost types, there's like no. This doesn't answer any ghost types, despite being immune to ghost. Just because ghost also resists poison. So like, what are you gonna swap it in and click knockoff and then die? No. Um, Reverum is pretty cool actually. Like it does have a 4 times weakness, but 4 times weaknesses aren't as bad as they are in like say like PvP or something. Um, this is usable. It's like pretty strong. It's like kind of fast. It doesn't get any of its setup, which hurts it a lot. But just being a poison steel type is surprisingly a really good typing for resisting fairy, dragon, like a lot of tricky things to resist. So yeah, it's for sure usable. Um, Glamora. I, I mean, honestly, I'm tempted to just this. In my opinion, this is like a better version. No, it's not. No, it's not as good as Nihilego. It's yeah, it's not great. We'll put it like above Amoonguss, I guess. Also, Toxtricity, Mega Toxtricity, we're gonna put towards the top here. I don't know why I put Mega Toxtricity this low. It is 100% the top of ability dependent, just because of its stats allow it to be. Or this thing just honestly, this thing is just straight up usable. Like resisting electric fairy is kind of nice. Resisting steel can be kind of nice. The problem is most threatening steel stuff also have ground moves, so you would have to be able to outspeed and one-shot it, which does not really happen that often. So yeah, we're gonna move it back down to the top of ability dependent because it really needs an ability to get forced onto a team into a lot of battles. Clodsire is like, I mean, it's unusable. I don't know what to say about that. Its stats are just not good enough to get used. Iron Moth, however, is surprisingly usable. We'll put it in usable, like middle of usable ish. No, like bottom of usable. There's not that many times where you really want this. It's not quite fast enough to to serve the purpose of outspeeding and just one-shotting stuff with its ridiculous special attack. However, what this thing does super well is it wins its mirror matchup against Surge, the Surge rematch. This thing wins the mirror matchup against Surge's Iron Moth because Surge's Iron Moth does not have a psychic move, and your Iron Moth can have a psychic move. So yeah, it just wins. Um, let's see, where are we next? Okie Dokie or Okie Dogie. It's usable for the same as Sneasler is. It's just not as fast as Sneasler, but it's slightly more physically bulky, which like could matter, I guess. I think it's not as usable as Sneasler because like this typing, it doesn't resist fairy, so it can't really get brought for that purpose. It doesn't resist a whole lot actually. Like it resists dark. So if this is your only fighting type, it's a good enough fighting type to swap into a knockoff and then kind of win that. But unfortunately, it can't get brought to any of the crocodiles because it will just die to an earthquake. So yeah. Um, but it's still usable. Stats allow it to be usable. Same with Monkey Dory. Monkey Dory is, you would think, garbage. It always gets like memed on or whatever, but this thing is low key good in Radical Red, but double battles only because it gets like parting. It's fast. It gets parting shot, fake out, like sucker punch. Not that I mean, this is a special attacker, right? And like all of its best moves are sort of physical attacks, but um, like if you just fake out parting shot, I mean that alone is putting it in usable, right? Right? So yeah, and its speed is like it's not bad. It's like one. It's like either in the 100 above 110 speed. So in a lot of double battles, this thing's moving first, except Sabrina. Pheasantipity is surprisingly not as useful as these. So Poison Fairy is a really cool type. They don't exactly help each other except for being neutral to poison, which doesn't matter that much. Poison isn't one of the most game breaking offensive types in Radical Red. Or like, I mean, like as a player, right? Like when you have poison, it's really good, but you don't face a lot of like really powerful poison threatening moves. So we'll slap it in like top of ability dependent, just because like you would really only want to use this for like the early game. But the problem is that kind of like similar to Garbodor, all of its early game moves are physical attacks, and that doesn't really help a lot of circumstances. And also, its typing isn't that useful for the early game. Um, and then, well, its typing actually isn't really that useful throughout the entirety of the game. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think this is super usable. Maybe with a good ability, it can get forced into a composition or a battle. But yeah. And then Petulant. Pecharunt is a poison ghost type in Radical Red. I don't know if that's the case in the base game, but it's, I mean, it's straight up usable. Like this thing having like 100 and like a stupid amount of defense. It's like 160 defense or something, and then 80 stats across the board outside of defense. It's fantastic. Like as a physical wall that is resists like fighting normal. Um, you slap a. I mean, it doesn't do enough damage. Hmm. Nah, kind of like any pure tank. We're gonna put it at the top of ability dependent, cause like pure tanks that don't have like similar to like Shuckle, similar to outside of Blissey, who does not care about her ability. This thing seems like it probably needs a good ability to be used as like an offensive answer. Like it could always, I guess, get used as a physical. Nah, it's gonna get used as a physical pivot regardless, and it's gonna get used pretty well in that regards. So yeah, we'll put it like towards the top. We'll probably put it below the poison dark types. Same with Monkey Dory. Monkey Dory we'll put below the poison dark types because it's really only fantastic in double battles. It's not really that good in most of the battles in Radical Red. And then there's this thing. I don't know what this is. I have no idea what this is. So if you guys know what this is, then throw it in the comments, please. But I don't know what that is. I've never seen it before. So per usual, we'll just go over the top list out of all of the poison types. We've got Mega Eternatus, obviously the best Pokemon, arguably the best Pokemon in the entire game. So that should be no surprise. Tentacruel is fantastic for multiple reasons. Crobat is fantastic for multiple reasons, mainly because he's got like basically 3 immunities: fighting, grass, and ground, and he's fast, so he can get pivoted in and then allow you to bring in like a safer answer or an answer safely, more safely. And then Toxicroak and Tentacle are kind of the similar. One's special oriented, one's physical oriented. It's great. And then the usable tier, we got like Sneasler, fast, hits hard. Okidoki, not as fast, hits hard, but can also take a physical hit. Drapion, Poison Dark, fantastic. Muck, Poison Dark, less fantastic, but still fantastic. Also a really good answer to Mewtwo. And then Overquill is Poison Dark, less fantastic than the previous 2. Still good. Monkey Dory, great in doubles. Fake Out, Parting Shot, excellent. Pecharunt, I guess, is just a physical pivot for the most part. It can do damage, I suppose, if it has to. Like 80 special attack is enough to do damage, I guess. Mega Bijo for the same reason as the bug chart. Very fast, can U-turn out, can also poison jab for big damage if it can one-shot. Mega Venusaur simply because its stats are just good enough to be here. As an answer to like certain fairy types, certain grass types, whatever matchups. Iron Moth is not super usable, but it does answer. It is an excellent answer to its mirror matchup. And there's a few other things. Like I was saying about how good fire poison typing is. Like Iron Moth is just a better version of Salazzle. Because it just like it isn't just frail on both sides. It's especially not frail, so it's only physically frail, so it can do work. And then Reverum simply because it's like a decently statted Pokemon and Poison Steel is usable in a lot of circumstances. So that is all the poison type. If your favorite poison type Pokemon is towards the bottom, then well, that's my bad. But from the looks of it, it kind of seems like I accurately put a lot of commonly not liked Pokemon towards the bottom, like Garbodor. Holy days! When this thing came out, I was in a loss of words for how I was like what in high school maybe, and they dropped Gen 5, and this Pokemon was absolute dire. The first thing in my head was, why are we naming Pokemon after a pile of garbage? And then they also look like a pile of garbage. This is just a failed revamp of Muck. Muck is just such a better looking, better, cooler idea Pokemon than Garbodor. That thing is garbage. But that's the Poison tier list. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will bring you the next type next time. So, see you later.